It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a soul. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, getting a bone, getting high, getting shook. Measure your pulse, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's either doing one night stands, driving a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome to another installment of the 2005 NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series here from Daytona for race number 17 of 36 for the Firecracker 400. It's a big turning point in the season here as we immediately will take you trackside for the starting lineup here tonight with Ricky Hendrick in the 5-car taking pole for tonight's event. Starting to his outside is going to be the 17 of Matt Kenseth on the front row. As we move further down the rest of the grid, it will be third place Jamie McMurray in the 40 with Tony Stewart in the 20 car starting to his outside. Robbie Gordon will be in 5th place and Greg Biffle starting in 6th. 7th place will be Bobby Labonte, 8th Kevin Harvick, 9th Kyle Busch, and brother Kurt on the outside rounding out the top 10. 11th place will be Jeff Gordon with Kenny Wallace in 12th. 13th goes to Jerry Nadeau in the 44, and Carl Edwards will start in 14th. 15th place goes to Chad Little with Jeremy Mayfield in the 16th place. To his outside in that 48 car, Brian Vickers will be in 17th, and 18th to John Wood. 19th place will be Ryan Newman in the 12, with Mark Martin starting to his outside. It will be David Rudiman in 21st and Jack Sprague in 22nd. 23rd goes to Scott Wimmer, with 24th being Dave Blaney, 25th Jeff Burton, and 26th Mike Bliss. 27th goes to Casey Atwood, and points leader Casey Kane starting a bit of a ways down the order. He'll be in 28th place in the 38 car. 29th is going to be Christian Elder, and 30th Scott Riggs. 31st goes to John Andretti, and 32nd Sterling Moreland. Dale Jarrett will be in 33rd place with David Green starting to his outside in 34th. 35th, Todd Bodine. 36th, Johnny Sauter. 37th, Dale Jr. in the 8, and 38th, Michael Waltrip. 39th will be Jason Leffler in the 14, and 40th, Hank Parker Jr. And the final row will be Mike Skinner in 41st, and Eric Norris rounds out the field in the 51 in 42nd place. Take you trackside for the command here from Daytona. 58 laps here tonight, and the most famous words in motorsport as the drivers get ready to roll.
Drivers, start your engines!
42 stock cars roll to life for a long one under the lights here at Daytona. The top 5 in the points standings back to Kevin Harvick within 60 points in tonight's race. This is one of the most important points of the season, and you look at the championship battle this stage of the season, this is around the turning point when you start thinking championship, and with the top 5 so close, it's anyone's game this point in the year.
Yeah, this is a race that I think a lot of guys, not only in the championship battle, but just those in heated battles throughout the field, have circled on their calendar. This is a big wild card race. a chance for a lot of cars to end up in victory lane. But it's going to be a test of survival as the pace car rolls off. 42 stock cars ready to rumble in the Sunshine State under the lights.
58 laps of action here from the Firecracker 400 through the restart box. For the first time, we're under green here from Daytona for 58 laps of plate track action. Rounding turn number 2 for the first time, Ricky Hendrick clear from the pole as the top 3 go single file off of the corner. New plate packages we mentioned at Talladega results in a lot more spread out racing, a lot more double than triple wide. We'll see how that performs at Daytona, the first time that they've ran it at this racetrack, and ran at Talladega earlier in the season. Rounding turn 4 for the first time, Ricky Hendrick looking to lead the opening lap from pole, and should do so as they head down the front stretch, and he will ahead of McMurray in the 40.
Yeah, Ricky really got a really nice jump off the restart, was able to clear down into turn 1, and currently mirror driving Jamie McMurray as the field pretty much double wide the entire way back behind him.
Not a surprise with the field staying calm early in the running. Down the backstretch as Robbie Gordon has found his way into third place. It's going to be the game shuffling today as Jamie McMurray looks to try and get some bonus points and lead a lap here as he dives to the inside into turn 3.
McMurray doesn't quite have help yet, but it may not matter. He might get past him here out of turn 4, and that he does. Bobby Labonte pushing him. McMurray going to get those bonus points.
As I mentioned, every point's going to matter at this stage in the season. 40 car, the second leader tonight, side by side for the lead as he's going to get clear rounding turn 2. Labonte pulls up to the back bumper of him. Inside lane remaining strong early, as we expect to see at a racetrack like this. Down the back, still McMurray, although Labonte looking to dive low underneath him, and he will now try to take the race lead. Though McMurray staying clear, he's not going to try and test that this early in the race, and he will jump up to the outside. It's now Labonte in the 18 on the bottom for the race lead.
And Kyle Busch behind him, pushed by Jeff Gordon. I've been watching that 18. He's been moving forward pretty quickly. Started alongside his brother and is significantly further up the field than his brother. Done a good job down there on the bottom lane. Now looking for third place.
He goes side by side with McMurray for second now. 3 Hendrick cars in a form of Nadeau and Vickers lined up on the bottom there behind Gordon. So a couple of teammates early in the running on the bottom lane. Now Kyle Busch looking to the inside for the early race lead. Labonte staying clear for now, should stick in that lead through into turn 3, and does. All double file throughout the field through the first 4 laps here at Daytona. Not a lot of 3-wide action, if any. Seeing it mostly calm up front and in the back. Early in the running, Labonte, a couple of laps led in a row there in front of the 19 of Kyle Busch. Jeff Gordon looking underneath for second, but will not be able to get there. Stay in single file through the first couple spots.
Looked like out of the back there in turn 4, Dale Jarrett got pretty tight, actually impacted the wall a little bit. We'll have to see how that affects his aero, but too far back really at this point to do any sort of harm to anybody.
And we see people get the wall a lot at this racetrack. It's a lot more narrow than Talladega, so people end up rushing the wall, especially when 3 wide. It's usually a treble spot. Never really ends up resulting in any damage, but people really not a lot of space to work with at this racetrack, so it's not a surprise to see people up in the fence. Labonte, third lap led in a row for the 18 car. Looking strong early in the running, but he's got all the Hendrick cars right up behind him. All the Chevrolets, plus the GM12 of Ryan Newman staying in the line on the bottom, all the way to Rudeman in the 55 car. As they head down
Yeah, it looks like at the front right now, those Hendrick motors are really, really quick. They've started to pull away from these guys on the outside lane as Jeff Gordon sees an opportunity and takes it and is going to, and looks like he's going to go to the race lead.
24 of Gordon up front now. He's got Vickers in the 25 behind him as his teammate went with him. Nadu got stuck up there on the upper lane as they had a bit of a miscommunication maybe, although Vickers not going to play nice with his teammate as Gordon led the lap, but the 25 jumps low to try to take the lead away from the 24. He's got Newman in the 12 behind him and Runeman in the 55 as well, still in line back there. McMurray being taken 3 wide in the 40 by Ricky Hendrick in the 5 as they head down the backstretch. Seeing a little more 3 wide action now as we've had a couple laps completed and these guys have got accustomed to racing these cars in race situation. Rookie Vickers up front. Got another rookie teammate in the 55 in the form of Rudeman directly behind him as they round turn 4. Wood
Yeah,
in
it
the
looks
6
like
as
Ricky
well.
Hendrick. Ricky Hendrick has been looking for a way to get back in line for a while, but it doesn't look like there's really a chance to do it. He may slip all the way to the back of the field if he's not careful here.
It is 4 rookies in line on the bottom. Vickers, Rudeman, Wood, and that is actually, it was Sprague in that 33 car, so just 3 in line. As Don Thompson Jr. not the one in that mobile for tonight's race, but 3 rookies nonetheless out front in a line. John Wood right behind as he is going to watch Rudeman jump to the inside. Couple of teammates side by side for the lead as the rookie in the 55 car, who's looked pretty strong in his starts in that clubhouse, takes the race lead, trying to hold off his teammate Vickers coming to the line and will grab a lap lead.
Yeah, Rudeman doing a good job here. He's a rookie, but he's been staying patient. He has made his way up to the field very, very well. Got some points there. That's a strong race car he's got, and if he can keep it clean, we could see him up front for the win.
Still early in the going as they head down the backstretch. It is Sprague underneath Rudeman now as they head towards turn 3, although Rudeman might be able to clear him as they get back into the corner, and he will stay clear over that 33 machine. A couple of Hendrick-affiliated cars up front, at the very least. Sprague, a Hendrick pipeline driver. Rounding turn 4, still in the lead is Rudeman. It is still a bit of 3 wide in the mid-pack as Robbie Gordon heads that middle lane. Driver's a little bit uncertain as to where to go at the moment, but still just a bit of pandemonium, but for the most part still clean up front, as that is actually going to be, Vickers is going to end up getting taken 3 wide as it was Wimmer in the 23 who jumped up in front of him. And still a lot of 3 wide action. That's 4 Hendrick cars in a line on that top lane, although Labonte separates them down the middle.
Yeah, definitely seeing some more three wide racing here. And this is just a product of these guys starting to learn their limits with their race cars, can be more aggressive. But they got to be careful here. There's a lot of points on the line, and this is an opportunity, but it's also one that can take a lot of points away too. We've seen crazy things happen at Daytona before with this style of racing. So these guys are some of the best drivers in the world, but they got to be careful here 11 laps in.
Yeah, I also saw, I believe that was Marlon and maybe Chad Little in the 28 that were making contact side by side into turn 3 a lap ago. Managed to keep it straight, but a little bit of a dangerous situation. Again, especially with the points leader, Casey Kane, who has had a rough go-around to start this one, has been in the back end of the field pretty much the entire day. 3 wide through the entirety of the midfield now, as it's still 2 wide up front. Rudeman's still comfortable in the lead. He's got the 77 of Dave Blaney in that Jasper 711 Pontiac in second place. And Todd Bodine in the 26 runs third. Dale Jr. in fourth as well. Staying single file up front while the whole rest of the field is jammed up behind about 6th place. It's all 3 wide behind the top 5 who are now single file in front. Can imagine some of these guys in this group are going to try to make moves with absolutely none of these guys being aligned up front.
Yeah, David Rudeman, you know, we talk about rookies and their inexperience. He's done a very good job as the field shuffled behind them. He was able to stay up front, but now he got shuffled off the bottom lane, and Dave Blaney in that 711, number 77, is going to go to the race lead.
Blaney, a runner-up in the Daytona 500 here in February, takes the lap lead himself. He's got Dale Jr. a proficient plate racer right behind him as the 8's going to jump underneath and get that nose just underneath him to force him up the racetrack as the field bunches right up again now, mostly 2 wide, but still some 3 in the mid-pack as the 77 and 8 go side by side down the backstretch. Jeff Burton in the 99 pushing Junior on the bottom as they enter turn 3.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for Dale Jr. recently. He has struggled mightily, but if he could win this race, it would be a massive momentum boost to that 8 team, something that they have desperately needed for a long time. There's a lot of race to go, and a lot will happen by the time this thing is over. But that 8 looks very strong.
Good to see him up front after the qualifying effort. Jeff Burton briefly took the lead, but could not block Michael Waltrip in the 00 on the bottom. He's got Johnny Sauter, the rookie 68 car, behind him, who looks to maybe take it 3 wide, stays in line for now. Hank Parker Jr. in the 4 behind as well. They're 3 wide behind the top 3. Everything's staying under control as Michael Waltrip will take the race lead in that 00. He's going to maybe leave the door open for Sauter just a little bit as they round turn 4, and he does as Sauter jumps underneath. Still a lot of shuffling up front. Dale Jarrett has moved up the front as well. Christian Elder, a couple of guys who had spent the early goings from qualifying further back, now making some appearances up front as the field shuffle and churn continues. It'll be lap 15.
It's been a very impressive showing from the rookies today. A lot of rookies leading laps, and you see that at Daytona sometimes, but very impressive how many of the rookies have been able to stay up here.
It's been a prevalent showing for the young guns up front today. It's a couple of the Yates in-house cars up front. Dale Jarrett moves into second place, winner of the last plate race at Talladega, and Johnny Sauter, Yates-affiliated 68 for Atkins up front. Him, Jarrett, and Elder single file up front in the top 3. A little bit more 3 wide in the midfield once again, as they had seemed to calm down at least for a few laps, once again getting all bunched up. See Rudeman in the 55, who was leading laps earlier, stuck in the middle of that group, keeping it nice and steady. Single file through the top 5 as Andretti gets clear now. Going to see maybe a couple moves here. Jarrett forced to block the 0 of Elder and leave out affiliate 68, Chad Little. His teammate went with him, 3rd in line. And man, Sauter got left out to dry there going into turn 3.
Yeah, Sauter's going to slip pretty far back here. The bottom lane, for the most part, has been pretty stout, but when these guys get runs, when they break up, it brings everybody back to them. So all of that time that they made up drafting with each other was mitigated by the fact that it just shuffled going into turn 3.
Chad Little takes the lead now ahead of his teammate. Jarrett went underneath him in turn 1. He's got Andretti in the 43 car to the inside now. Mayfield and Kane following suit as well, as Kane's finally found his way up front. Mike Bliss with his teammate Tony Stewart behind him, 4th and 5th in line. Double file throughout about the top 15 as they round turn 4.
Starting to see a little less 3 wide now. Looks like it, in the midfield at least, it's starting to calm down. As I say that, the 99 gets into the wall there out of the trioval.
Burton got a bit more of a significant piece of the wall than everybody else has been today, but should be okay. Maybe loses a little tiny bit of speed. He was on the top of 3 wide there and falling backwards in the mid-pack. Battle for the lead continues as here's Kane to the inside now. One of the men of the hour in this championship fight as he looks to grab a bonus point of 2 here up front. He's got Bliss in the 81. Behind him, Tony Stewart, another points leader, right behind in 3rd. Kane will take a lap lead here. Again, important for the championship battle. Him and Hendrick, the only 2 main championship contenders to have led laps today so far.
Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with what those Yates cars have been able to do. They have had at least a car up near the front at every point of this race. Those Yates cars are looking stout.
Definitely looking fast. The Fords have been pretty much the entirety of today. Stewart's going to try to take second place now from his teammate Bliss as they go side by side through 3 and 4. Kane going to be in control of the field here, single file for him. Kenny Wallace joins that mix as well as he's on the inside in the 2. And he's going to jump underneath Tony Stewart down the front stretch, so Stewart not going to have an opportunity to take the lead here. Kane not sure which lane to block. Run by Wallace is going to get him underneath the 38. And now the 2 car will take the race lead.
Yeah, been a ton of lead changes in this race. A very, very entertaining package brought today.
Down into
Kenny
turn
Wallace
3.
will jump up to the outside, allowing Kyle Busch to assume the race lead.
And we can see a couple of these guys who were up front early in the running, making their second round of appearances as Kyle Busch takes the race lead. Here's Biffle in the 16 on the bottom. Leader's not really able to hold the bottom right now. Double file through the entire field at the moment. Once again, strung out and calmed down as we are approaching the halfway mark, expecting our one and only pit stop not too long from now. We'll see if these guys decide to extend it all the way or pit right down the halfway mark. It's about a 35 or so lap fuel run at this racetrack, so we'll see what the pit strategy is going to be for these guys. Could make it from as early as here, but we'll see if they're going to extend it at least a little bit. I would think they're going to pit around halfway, but just spitballing at this point. Biffle up front, Kurt Busch, another one of the title guys, second place as they're single file through just the top 2 as Wimmer got filtered up to the top there. Second time he's had that happen to him. It was Leffler that gets split 3 wide because of the move on Wimmer. Still trying
Whenever
to
we hit
out.
pit stops right here, pit stops will be crucial without a caution in this race. Pit stops can really string out the field, and if you're on the wrong strategy, it'll be very hard to move forward.
Absolutely. We saw it in the Busch race that field got split into 2 completely separate packs in the pit stops. The top 10 or so were all by themselves, and maybe 25 or so cars were in the secondary pack that were way too far back to make up the time. So could be seeing something similar today. Top 5 single file once again as Harvick is clear back there in the 29. Now top 6 as they collect the 18 as well, though Harvick, one of the points leaders, looking for some championship standing today. Going to make another move. He passes John Wood in the 6 for 4th and takes the 18 of Labonte along with him. Kurt Busch right behind the 16 of Biffle, who's led a couple laps in a row, now jumps to the inside.
Kurt Busch, someone else who definitely would benefit from having some extra points here.
Couple of championship leaders, him and Harvick. Couple of the guys in this close top 5 now up front. Harvick's going to jump underneath Kurt Busch. Busch will lead the lap, which is what he was looking for. But Harvick, with the big run on the bottom, is going to take the race lead away from that 01 car. Got Kenseth behind him. And the 29's got the race lead.
And further back in the field, Jimmy Johnson has really struggled for pace getting up to the front. We haven't seen him lead any laps, I don't believe. But Jimmy Johnson has been forced to watch. I'm right. It's okay.
48 of Mayfield in injury substitution. Kevin Harvick still up front, single file for the top 3 this time off of turn 4. Carl Edwards rejoining the front group. He was all the way down in the very last position in that 97, maybe like 10 or so laps ago. A couple of cars 3 wide. That is Kyle Busch and Casey Kane up on the upper line. All 42 cars in this field are still a part of the lead pack. It is the entire field up front in this one as we are nearing that halfway mark, just a few laps until we hit it. And it has been nothing short of entertaining here tonight. Here's Matt Kenseth on the bottom with Kevin Harvick getting forced up to the outside. Couple of Roush teammates on the bottom, 17 and 97 jump low. Chad Little fills that hole on the bottom as well. A nice move by that 28 to get in front of Ryan Newman. Coming off of turn 4 as Kenseth is going to maybe get passed by Edwards. Nope, Edwards will let him back in. Might happen into turn 1 this time here, and we'll see. Nope, Kenseth will stay in front of his teammate, at least for now, and now Edwards gets underneath him. Kenseth was trying to block, but didn't quite have enough room, and now the 97 on the bottom. Again, we've seen a lot of the Fords up front today.
This is the point in the run where you would start to expect some pit stops to happen very shortly. You would think they will split it as close to the halfway point as they can, but it would not surprise me to see some guys come a little earlier to try to get ahead of the gun.
Yeah, absolutely. Also would not surprise me to see them go later, but, you know, it's just the matter of pit stops and having to get out of the way of everybody. That pitting early is a big benefit, because if you're one of the guys that gets caught in that pack that stays out the extra couple laps, you definitely have to slow down for a lot of these guys as they come onto the apron, and that costs you a lot of time. We see that every single time out at these plate tracks. We saw it in the Busch race this Saturday. We saw it in the 500. We've seen it at Talladega before as well. Pretty much every single one of these plate races that ends up having green flag pit stops. You want to be in early for sure. We'll see what the situation is this time. Field still staying out. We were at halfway. Or excuse me, we'll be in just a few laps. It'll be lap number 29. And taking lap 30, that will be the halfway mark. Taking lap number 28 now as Little's back up front for the second time tonight. He's got Newman in the 12 behind him. Leffler is in up front once again. Didn't lead any laps in the 14 the last time he was towards the front end of the field, but nonetheless still been up front a fair amount today. As they head down the backstretch, all double file throughout the front pack once again. Two leaders by themselves, Newman and Little up front.
This is notoriously a very difficult track to pit on. You know, you're pulling off the track at 190 mile an hour, trying to get slowed down to about 60. And you have to execute a pit stop perfectly to remain in the draft and make sure you're on the right strategy. It's a very difficult track to pit on, and these teams, this could very well be the money stop without a caution in this race. So perfect execution is crucial here for every race team in the field.
Absolutely, and let alone the smaller brakes these teams bring to this racetrack to save on weight. It means that getting into the pits at this place is no small task. Absolutely, you're right on that front. Coming to take halfway at the line here, it will be Ryan Newman in the 12 car leading the field off of turn 4. He's got Atwood looking low for the lead as well, but Newman will take the lap lead. The 30 car of Atwood down low. He's got Parker Jr. in the 4 behind him. And Hank Parker Jr. takes him 3 wide into turn number 1. Here comes the 4 down on the bottom, side by side for the race lead once again. Opportunistic
Very
move.
nearly 4 wide.
Trying to take the race lead. He's got David Green in the 21 directly behind as they enter turn 3. 3 wide for the 3rd spot with the 21 right in line. How about a feel-good story here as coming off of turn 4, Parker Jr. going to take a lap lead here tonight. And keeps the field at bay. He's all by himself out front now.
Yeah, very good job from Hank Parker Jr. there of defensive driving. David Green tried to get back down in front of McMurray, started to come down, but could not quite get clear. Very nearly a big wreck there in the tri-oval, but good job by them to keep it straight.
Probably got a late inside call from the spotter, but McMurray with the run got underneath him in a hurry, and now is going to look to take the lead from the 4. He's got Ricky Hendrick, the pole sitter, right behind him as they head towards turn 3. Dave McMurray now up front. The field, we also talk about pit stops. Another thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that you would want the field to be mostly double file for that, so it's a lot of cleaner racetrack and a lot easier for these guys to get down, especially considering that 3 wide has been fairly sporadic today. When they're 3 wide, they're all over the place. And right now the field's looking like it's going to have another one of its close packed up episodes with a lot of the front runners in the back end of the top 10 3 wide as well.
And an unmentioned part of the pit stops here, if they come in double to triple wide, it's going to be a hassle to get into your box. It's hard to see your sign, and it's hard to get around other race cars to get into your box. That's where it's your spotter's job to kind of help walk you through that, especially if you're one of these young guys who haven't really had to do this before.
Almost 4 wide there in the mid-pack. Harvick and Vickers very nearly made contact there for about P10 as they were in turn 3, managed to avoid further incident. That was close between those guys as the pack continues to race just as close as you can get right now, though the field's stringing out a little bit more now. Just that sudden change in field energy constantly happening here. And we talked about halfway, looking like these guys are going to take it as far on fuel as they can to make this pit stop as short as possible. Getting right to the end of the fuel run here. Lap number 33 as McMurray continues to lead over the 24 of Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, these guys, they don't want to take much fuel because the longer you have on pit road, the longer you have to mess up. So the longer you run, then the more fuel you burn. It means the less time you have to spend in your box, the less time you have to spend on pit road in general, and the quicker you can get back on the racetrack with a chance to win the race.
Without a doubt, top 5 single file once again as the field's gone a little calm once more. It is Vickers, Bliss, Sprague, Gordon, and McMurray, your top 5 at that snapshot, but that doesn't last long as Jeff Gordon jumps underneath with help from the 81 of Bliss, who also looks low on the 33 car. Side by side for the race lead once again. McMurray led a couple laps in a row there, but the 24 is going to take the lead now. Got Bliss behind him in the 81, who's now going to look low for the lead. Gordon will not be able to.
Brian Vickers, the 24's teammate, right there. You wonder if he gets an opportunity, will he go with Gordon? Now, it's hard to tell at this point, but it doesn't look like the opportunity will arise. Vickers going to go through to second place and potentially the lead here.
Yeah, not really much of an opportunity for the 25 there. Vickers has been very strong tonight, one of the best race cars on the track, but Robbie Gordon's not going to let him on the bottom. The 31 now side by side with him for second as Bliss takes the race lead. Through turns 3 and 4, everybody's still on the racetrack. The fuel clock is ticking at this point. These guys going a long way on this tank. Bliss out front, takes a lap lead. Tony Stewart in the 20 right behind Robbie Gordon, one of the only championship contenders to have not led a lap today. I believe he is the only one in the top 5 in the standings that has not been in the lead. Looking to change that. He's got a fairly strong race car. He's cut through the field a pair of times. Rounding turn 4, still Bliss in the lead. We'll see what the 31 does here as he is immediately going to jump low. Stewart going to stick with his teammate on the outside.
Brian Vickers had a very tough sequence there. He was up with a chance going for the lead and hit the wall coming out of turn 4, and then in turn 1 was 3 wide into the top and has slipped down the order considerably from where he was.
Tony Stewart got taken 3 wide by the 48 of Mayfield and the 77 of Blaney going through into turn 3 there. That was an unfortunate circumstance for Stewart, who was once again looking primed to try and maybe lead a lap or two, and now drops back with his teammate Bliss that he's stuck with. 31-48, your top 2. Kurt Busch trails behind them as well. Down the backstretch, it is still Robbie Gordon up front. Here's Kurt Busch for second place on Mayfield in the 48 as they enter turn 3. A lot of 3 wide once again. Still,
now is around the point. Now is around the point where you would think that the pit crews would be on the walls, getting ready to serve their stops as Bobby Labonte, the first taker, but he's all alone,
all by himself. Splits up the pack a little bit. These guys in the back end are going to drop off just a little tiny bit. Didn't lose too much speed since it was only 1 car. Lucky break to not have to check up any more than that, but at the very least, Skinner and these guys at the very end of the field are going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage here, though at the same time, a bit more room to break for the pits. As they head down the backstretch now, it is going to be Kurt Busch looking low on Robbie Gordon. Kevin Harvick went with the 01. As they come off of turn 4, drivers picking up to the top of the racetrack. You can expect them to come in here. And some more pitters there. Big pack of cars as Scott Riggs got ran into by the 43 of Andretti. Stack up, stack up, stack up. You always expect to have at least a little bit of that, and this 57 and 43 fall victim to it. Field split up a little bit once again.
Looked like the 57 had some pretty significant damage to the back end. That very well might be the end of his race.
Casey Kane in as well. A little bit of damage on the right front of that 38 car, maybe. Yes. Points leader Kane with a bit of damage on the front. He ran into the 2 of Wallace in the pits. More pitters going to come in this time now as we got some more diving in. Another group stays out. This time it's going to be Harvick in the 29 taking the race lead. Catching up to the 18 car of Bobby Labonte, who was still all by himself, and that is a tough break for him. He's going to lose a ton of time in this pit cycle.
Yeah, just maybe they had expected more cars to come in there, as it looks like Kurt Busch going to get slowed up here. That's really, really tight.
Whoa, and spinning around is Dave Blaney on the backstretch. Spinner into the grass. The caution flag is going to come out as Tony Stewart's in the wall as well. Pandemonium in the pit cycle as Blaney went around, and we are under caution.
And somehow, some way, he got that thing gathered up in the right direction and did not hit anything.
Look out here as Kurt Busch is getting around these guys, trying to make sure he doesn't wreck anybody. With a tough break there. We are under caution, and that was Dave Blaney in the 77 who got spun around on the backstretch to bring out the yellow under pit cycles. On lap number 40, it was the 99 car of Jeff Burton who was in the way. Blaney trying to split the gap, didn't quite have enough room, and he goes around. The 22 car of Sterling Marlin got a piece of that as well, and Tony Stewart, one of the points leaders, got put up in the fence by Scott Riggs in the 57. A lot of damage to the right side of his machine. So this is going to be interesting here now with these guys under caution. Kevin Harvick out of fuel under yellow, trying to coast it back to the pits. Kurt Busch is all by himself because nobody can pass him under yellow. Field catching up now as the rest of these guys at the very back end of the field are going to take the yellow flag. Matt Kenseth in the 17 out of fuel as well.
That's a very long way for those guys to have to coast their way around. And it would probably be smart if Kevin Harvick would get off the banking here.
Well, trying to make as much ground as he can and doesn't want to lose any spots. Kurt Busch is going to be basically the free race leader here with these guys being stuck behind him, although a couple of them waving around as well. Casey Atwood and Eric Norris going by on the apron. But coming around here as Harvick is going to try his best to make it into the pits. This is absolute chaos here as nobody quite knows what to do. Going to be giving these guys the wave around thanks to Harvick holding them up. Any of these lap cars are going to get waved. But Harvick will make it into the pit lane. Ooh, contact there. That was the 4 machine and Dale Jarrett in the 88 as Jarrett was kind of all over the place coming into the pits as well. So as all these lappers are going to pull up again, we're going to give them the lucky dog and slash free pass, given that they were trapped there behind Harvick, and Kurt Busch would have trapped all of them a lap down, but they'll all be waved around here. And we will take you to intermission as Kurt Busch will have the race lead. Actually, pardon me, these two that stayed out here, Atwood and Eric Norris, ended up hitting at exactly the right time, it seems like. There's Kenseth out of fuel on the apron there. But Atwood is going to be the race leader. Imagine that. We're under caution here from Daytona. We'll be right back. Didn't switch to the intermission screen there, but nonetheless, we are back here from Daytona. Casey Atwood in the 30 car will be your race leader after a perfectly timed pit stop for him and Eric Norris. The only two a part of that group that are going to be benefiting a ton from that caution flag. Pace car peels off. It will be 14 laps to go here from Daytona as they head through the restart box and take the green flag. A good jump for the top two through the tri-oval as Atwood takes off in the race lead.
You talk about Daytona and you talk about history and you talk about storylines. Imagine the scenes if one of these two drivers up front were able to take the checkered flag today. What an upset that would be.
Both of these guys some definite underdogs up front, but Kurt Busch wasting no time in trying to pick him off as he goes side by side with Eric Norris for second. Robbie Gordon and Jeff Gordon behind him on the bottom as Robbie Gordon's going to take Kurt Busch 3 wide.
Robbie Gordon, no stranger to aggressive racing, and that was an aggressive move to get to second, but that's what you got to do with these tracks with this kind of pressure on the line as Jeff Gordon pulls the same move on Robbie.
Daytona 500 winners side by side on the bottom there. Robbie Gordon, the winner of the 500 this year. Jeff Gordon down to the inside, and he's got second place now. Atwood loving the battle in his mirror, but it's going to come right up to him as Jeff Gordon now right on his back bumper. But can he hold Wimmer off in order to get to the bottom? Tough question. We'll see. And he will. Down to the inside as a 24.
Atwood did a good job mirror driving there, but it could only last so long. Jeff Gordon has had a very strong race car today. Maybe hasn't gotten to show it as much as he would like to, but that car, when it's up front, it has been very stout.
Gordon's got the lead now. He's got another Daytona 500 winner, Scott Wimmer, in the 23 now in line behind him. He's taken Todd Bodine in the 26 along with him as well. Down through turns 1 and 2. Jeff Gordon out front ahead of the 23. Got a couple of cars that are going to need to be pulled off the racetrack here. Namely the 77 and 43. Tough breaks for them, who both of those cars were having absolutely fantastic days up until that caution. And both with damage here.
As double file throughout the pack right now.
Couple
Jeff
of stragglers
Gordon
in the back end trying to hang on to this draft. Edwards, Newman, and Busch should stay with the leaders.
Gordon, for the moment,
fall off.
continues to lead. Todd Bodine looking for an entryway to the bottom, but hasn't quite found it yet.
Might have a shot here as Labonte jumps underneath the 2 car for third. Todd's going to stick in line in that 26 for now. As off of turn 4 this time for Jeff Gordon, the race leader. It'll be 10 laps to go here from Daytona in one of the biggest stages of this season. And he will have the lead. Labonte going to keep trying to pick him off. He's going for second place now. But I'm going to have to give up the bottom to the 18.
Yeah, Bobby Labonte, another one who was really saved by that caution. He had pitted all by himself and now finds himself in second place looking for the race lead.
Beneficial for him for sure, given that he had one of the better race cars in the field. Just a tough strategy call that left him all alone. And he's going to go for the third straight move on the last lap and a half. Down to the inside on Jeff Gordon. Harvick went high. Isn't going to matter with the bottom lane advantage for the 18 of Bobby Labonte. As he rounds turn 4, he'll have the lead by about half a car length. Getting clear of Jeff Gordon. Here's Rudeman on the bottom, though, to try and take the race lead. They're 3 wide for the top spot for a split second. Here's the 55 on the bottom.
David Rudeman has been very impressive today, has gotten up front at multiple points in this race. That car is very, very strong, and driver not too shabby himself.
Him, Green, and Vickers have seen a ton of the front of this pack this race. Vickers and Runeman especially have been the cars to beat tonight. Down the backstretch here with now 9 laps to go. Edwards is going to drop off of this pack here. Seeing a couple of stragglers, but those guys in the pack are definitely going to stay plenty out of harm's way for the leaders. Rudeman and Vickers, the two leaders. It is 3 Hendrick cars in a line up front, though Mayfield, last week's winner, looked for second, couldn't quite get underneath. Rudeman still the leader. Now 8 laps to go.
Rudeman and Vickers, the 2 cars to beat, have found their way back to the front when it matters the most. It will now with this many laps to go, it'll be hard to keep them there, but if any 2 cars could do it in this field, it would likely be those 2.
Jumping to the inside is Vickers, though, on the bottom. He's got Rudeman side by side for the lead, although Mayfield going to take his teammates 3 wide for the lead in turn 3.
Mayfield, the substitute driver for Jimmy Johnson, with a lot to prove to Mr. H, and he's going to the lead at Daytona with just a handful of laps to go. Could this be a day to remember for Jeremy Mayfield?
Winner last week at Sonoma, but Mike Bliss not making it easy on him. Here's the 81 for the lead now.
Tons of lead changes in this race as Mike Bliss about to see the front of the field. Dale Jr. going to look for an entourage to the inside. Dale Jarrett pushing him as if it's been a revolving door up at the front of the field.
So many faces up front, probably at least half the field has led at least a lap today. Off of turn 4 this time, it's Mike Bliss out front, but Dale Jr. is going to sneak his nose underneath the 81. Bliss trying to throw the block, stays in front of him this time. Can he hold him off towards turn 1? Bliss trying his best to block both the lanes as they head towards T1. Bliss is going to hold the lead over the 8 of Junior. Couple of Chevrolets up front as the 81 has the race lead.
If you recall, Mike Bliss had a fantastic race at Nashville. For a second, looked like he was the car to beat, but heartbreak in the later stages of that race relegated him to a poor finish. And now, up front at Daytona, coming to 5 laps to go. Can he get his first win?
So many drivers up front looking for a season-defining victory here tonight. It's 5 laps to go under the lights at Daytona. Bliss still holding the race lead. It's going to be Jarrett into second place now as he jumps to the inside on the 8 of Junior. He's got pole sitter Ricky Hendrick behind him. Jack Sprague 4th in line. Tony Stewart 5th in line. It's anybody's game right now. Here's Hendrick side by side for second.
Big move by Ricky Hendrick as the bottom lane has prevailed all race. Mike Bliss is doing a fantastic job blocking both lanes, some of the best we've seen today. He looks like a man on a mission up front.
No doubt about it, that 81 doing a better job of blocking than we've seen by anybody else here tonight. 4 laps to go is the count now. Hendrick staying in line, going to jump low on the 81 of Bliss, and he's going to try to retake the race lead now. Bliss could block, but only for so long. The 81 loses the lead. The 5's got it now. Here's Tony Stewart on the bottom to try and pass his teammate for second place as they head down the backstretch.
As John Wood pushing Tony Stewart. That would be a story if John Wood could go to victory lane in this race.
Wouldn't even be his first this season. Side by side for third, the 2 leaders, Stewart and Hendrick, a couple of championship leaders clear up front. Down off of turn number 4. 3 laps to go from Daytona now as Hendrick still up front. Any one of these guys could make a story-making win here tonight. And again, pretty much anybody on this inside has a chance to win it.
Bottom lane starting to separate itself from the outside. If you're gonna, the winner of this race will very likely be seen from the bottom lane. John Wood knows that and jumps to the inside of Tony Stewart for second place.
Hank Parker Jr. was in the top 5 for a moment, got filtered up to the top lane. Wood for second. It'll be 2 to go at the line. Hendrick still up front. Mark Martin third in line on the bottom in the 06 car now. It's him and his previous car on the bottom, but can't quite get up to him as Hendrick is in control of this thing with just 5 miles to go.
The pole sitter of this race has not seen that much time up front other than at the very start, and now at the very end of this race would be very helpful to Ricky Hendrick to grab a checkered flag here to help his championship hopes. But it's all but over down on the backstretch with 2 laps to go.
A lap and a half remains now. The battle up front still going strong. Ricky Hendrick 4th in points entering this race. Problem in the back, that is the 22 of Marlin in the pits. That was the lap before that he entered the pits. Doesn't matter to these guys now. The last lap here from Daytona. We got one more to go.
John Wood has gotten closer to the bumper of Ricky Hendrick. Hasn't quite been able to make the move. He's going to have likely 2 opportunities here. One on the back stretch and once off of turn 4. What kind of help is he going to get from Mark Martin, his teammate behind him?
Couple of teammates lined up behind the 5 of Hendrick as they head down the backstretch. Does Wood jump low? The 68 goes low. Wood is going to stay in line. Does he have enough off of turn 4 with the 68 behind him? They head through 3 and 4 for the final time. Off of turn 4, Hendrick trying to win it from the pole and get his 2nd this year. Can Wood win his 2nd this year? Coming back to the stripe, Ricky Hendrick's championship bid continues with a win at Daytona.
Ricky Hendrick, a massive win for his championship hopes. Very much... very well earned. He got to the front of the field, was able to hold off some very, very strong race cars, and is going to see victory lane at the World Center of Racing.
Hendrick with a masterful set of blocking coming to the finish of that race, and he takes home his 2nd win this season. It is his 2nd win in just 3 races, with Hendrick taking the last 3 races in a row. And a strong middle portion of the season in the summer here for the H Club as team number 5 takes home the win here tonight. A great race driven by him. Led at the start, led at the end, came all the way back and put that one to bed ahead of the fastest cars in the field tonight.
Just a massive win for Ricky Hendrick. One that in parts of this race did not seem very likely. But once he was able to get back to the front of the field, that car was just as fast as anybody else's. A great job by Ricky Hendrick to really propel himself forward in this championship battle.
Ricky Hendrick's 2nd win this season, again, 2nd in 3 races, winner at Kentucky 2 weeks ago. Both of these wins under the lights. He takes home his 2nd this year and the 3rd of his career. A winner here tonight after a fantastic race at Daytona. Just about held off John Wood in that 6 car. But that'll do it here from Daytona with Ricky Hendrick, your winner. I'm Caden Reif on behalf of Nate joining me in the booth tonight. We'll catch you next time, and it will be race number 18 coming to you from Kansas for the Tropicana 400. We'll see you then, and as always, have a good one.
It's a long way to the top.